Welcome to the NWI.com Political Roundtable for Thursday, May 24th. I'm Robert Blaszkiewicz, Assistant Managing Editor of The Times. Joining with me today, Doug Ross, Editorial Page Editor, and Times columnist Mark Kiesling. Going to be talking about the latest developments in politics. And let's start off by focusing on the governor's race. We have now seen each candidate pick a running mate, so we know that they both share some commonalities. They're both women. They're both state legislators, and
I think we talked about that.
About them?
I think we talked about that last week, the week before. They were going to, they were going to look to be picking a woman. And
so yes,
whoever made that prognostication was correct.
So,
it wasn't me. So
the Republican Mike Pence picked Sue Ellspermann.
And she was just a freshman state rep, so I mean not a whole lot of time in office, but she helped push through the
right to work.
Yeah. So boy, that's in her favor for his platform anyway.
Well, we've got a president of the United States who didn't spend much time in office either, so it's not without precedent.
Right.
And then the Democrat John Gregg picked Vi Simpson, who is has had a much longer history in the state house.
She's got a track record, and she's led a lot of stuff. So.
And she ran for governor before. I don't know if you remember this, but back when Frank O'Bannon was retiring. At least everybody assumed that. She jumped into the race because O'Bannon's lieutenant governor, Joe Kernan, said he wasn't running. So then when O'Bannon died at that, had the stroke in Chicago, then Kernan got back in the race and she kind of got forced out. But, she's got some experience and she's been around a while. What's interesting, I think, is that her politics are really more liberal than her running mates.
She's pro-choice. She's and Gregg is less so.
Right, right. He's kind of a as he has to be to win in this climate. He's a pretty conservative Democrat.
Yeah,
I think, and she's your cut out of blue cloth Democrat. So.
Yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see how they match up. Coming back to Lake County, the Republicans continue kind of their infighting, and the latest development in this voter vault controversy. This voter vault is kind of this computer database of voters and activists, kind of measuring on the scale how strong-leaning Republican or Independent or strong-leaning Democrat they are. Allegations are that the Lake County Republican chairwoman, Kim Krull, that she tampered with this database and downgraded some certain Republican candidates. The state party took a look at it and took a look at the petition to remove her and said, nope, she can stay in office.
Right.
Which the people that wanted her removed obviously aren't happy about that decision.
Well, is that she is the county chairman. Is that really tampering with a database, or is that something that a county chairman does?
Or it could be, allowing it to, be dealt with. What's at issue here was there were a couple of candidates who said, no, wait a minute, this is not demeaning, but it's putting out false information about us, making us look like, we're not the true conservatives we are. And so then that's, what brought all of this about when it made it look like, they were, more toward the left side of the road.
Well, I mean, you look at some of the candidates and, they're kind of, I don't want to say they're cranks, but they, they've got a history of being a little different, shall I say. I want to be generous here, than some of the other candidates. You've got Joe Hero from St. John, you've got Eric Krieg it's
Well, I mean, what this...
they're not happy with anything.
Right.
They're not happy,
Right.
exactly. But what this did bring to the fore was, brought to the attention of everybody, really, that, there's a rift in the Lake County Republican Party, and everybody's going to be watching it to see how that develops.
There's always been a rift in the Lake County Republican Party, and that's one of the reasons they don't get anywhere.
Well,
No, I mean, let's face it, Hank Adams won by a fluke.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that being, he ran against Carol Ann Seaton,
who was indicted? Yeah, it's like so.
Yeah.
minor detail.
Not that counts in Lake County, but it's like
Right.
it is kind of a bad thing.
Yeah. I think it's also kind of interesting that it kind of reflects the current environment in the Republican Party, where to be anything but a staunch conservative is a dirty word. To be the
Right.
slightest bit moderate, we kind of saw that with the election of Richard Murdoch over Dick Lugar.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's the same thing happening here.
This is the worst thing you could do to a Republican, is to call them a moderate.
Exactly.
So, and then the other big development we saw this week, kind of a surprise, was that the U.S. Attorney out of Chicago, Patrick Fitzgerald, who's been prominent, obviously, in the Rod Blagojevich prosecution. He was also involved in the Valerie Plame investigation back during the Bush administration. That he's probably the most prominent U.S. attorney in the country.
Oh, without question.
And he said he's stepping down. He said it's time for someone else to move in, and it's unclear what he'll do. You don't really even know what party he is, because he was appointed by George W. Bush. He was retained by President Obama. It's really not clear, his politics, but he says he's not really interested in politics. But there's some speculation that he may go and move into like a position, say, as FBI director. That's one of the talks, but unclear where he'll go or what will happen now with the position.
Well, what has to happen to the position is it has to be somebody with, a good, strong commitment to fighting public corruption. I mean,
I was just going to say the same thing.
This is basically your governor's retirement fund is.
Right. He's been in the forefront of fighting public corruption, regardless of which party it is.
Mm-hmm.
You had your George Ryan prosecution, Republican governor. You had your Rod Blagojevich prosecution, Democratic governor.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't seem to make a whole lot of difference to him what party you were. It's like, were you corrupt?
Right, and that's the way it has to
Yeah.
be. So they've got to find somebody who's, apolitical.
And he's
Good
got,
luck with that.
and he does have that straight arrow kind of reputation that he by the book, someone who's
Right.
And I think here in Northwest Indiana, we have the same type of person in Dave Capp.
Exactly.
He just does not care. It's like, if you are corrupt, we're going after you.
Yeah.
And that's what we need as well. I mean,
Right.
The Northern District of Indiana and the Northern District of Illinois are fairly similar in that regard. Now, you still have to worry about, it's not just about public corruption. There are the organized crime cases that frankly go across the state line, and so you still have to deal with a lot of those.
We've got the gang cases that have crossed. Obviously, here we've seen
Right.
the local gangs that cross state lines. that go to Illinois
large-scale prosecutions of gangs, and
and that has to continue.
gun sales, things like that. Illegal gun sales. I'm talking about.
Right. I mean, we talk about the high-profile cases, but they got to deal with drugs. They've got to deal with the gang crimes, the bank robberies, all of these other federal crimes that we can't forget those, and frankly terrorism cases too.
And now it'll be interesting to see what Fitzgerald does. I think in light of because he could join something like Jim Thompson's law firm, very easily, and make
he
far
could
more money.
He could have his pick pretty much.
Far more money than what he's making now.
my guess is what he's going to do is, if he's not appointed FBI director or something like that,
Right.
he's going to join a law firm as a kind of holding pattern where he'll make a ton of money until he's appointed to a big...
He may do that. He's married to a school teacher. He's got 2 young kids, so he may just want to kind of settle into his life here.
Yeah,
And he's probably earned it.
It's a distinct possibility, and I look at that, and I think, well, does he really want to be FBI director? Does he really want to move to Washington D.C.?
Right.
I think my guess is that he has had previous opportunities to move to D.C. and just was not all that interested, because the Beltway is a whole different animal than what you've got around here.
Well, and really, nothing's going to happen in that regard anyway until after the election.
Sure.
And things become a little more clear at the national level.
Yeah. Well,
So.
we'll have plenty to talk about. So that'll do it for this week. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back next week to talk about more politics on the Political Roundtable. Thanks for watching.